their screen, they can see. I mean, just, education's fine, you can tell people, but I think if it's like point blank right here, right in front of your face, saying, this is sensitive area, when you're pulling into a spot, it would be significantly helpful, I think, to everyone, just so they know that this is like an area that's kind of off limits to this, or it's, yeah, I need to be aware. Is there any kind of like system set up like that, or where people can get that information from?
Yeah, not that I've seen, unless they go, like I showed the map on DNR's website, which, how many people are going to look for that, right, before they go out? Nobody is, right? And so it's set up in a way that it's gonna flag for me, but not set up in a way that it's gonna flag for other people, right? Unless they know to look for it and they care to look for it, right? I love the ideas though. I love the ideas. I think, I can investigate some of that signage. I personally have not seen, necessarily like a roping off or, any other, big, way of kind of making sure that it's clearly marked from the water. But I think it's a good question and one that warrants maybe some explanation or
I'm not so much saying roped off, but
Sure,
like,
sure,
if you
sure.
put the signage, it's
Yeah.
just, I'm even
Make
thinking
it
of
clear.
buoys.
Or even a specialized buoy.
A buoy that's
A specialized buoy for sensitive areas.
Slow no wake and raise
Yeah.
your motor.
Maybe a little
you know?
different color with
I mean,
sensitive area on
that's,
it.
yeah.
From my
Get off the
perspective,
lake.
that's something to explore, yeah, absolutely.
Or get off the lake.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I wanna get back there.
Hello, thank you. I understand the designation of sensitive areas, but I also understand that the surrounding areas of a sensitive zone can be very impactful to a sensitive area, such as runoff, construction, development, etc. So I understand you are saying that you have below the high water line, but above the high water line, that is town responsibility, such as a planning commission or the town board. And what I would indicate is that often those individuals serving on those boards do not have the environmental expertise to make those decisions correctly. So how does one approach the DNR to assist with decisions that folks that may not be environmentalists are making incorrectly?
Absolutely, yeah, wonderful question, wonderful. Cause buffer areas are important, right, and
Yes.
my piece of the pie is only one piece of the pie, yeah. My business cards are back there,
Yeah, they're on the
yeah.
table by the
Totally welcome, people from, I work very closely, or I try to, right, work very closely with towns and counties and villages and cities, everybody, right? To make sure that, we're aware of what those environmental pieces are, right, and what that means, yeah, so I think outreach on my part, to the ability that I can, is part of it, right? And I think that the county has also been a really valuable partner as they interact with townships, right? Letting them know, like, hey, give Erin a call, right? Yeah, but even on this level, if anyone wants to engage with me, right? Open door policy, so, good question, yeah.
I just have a quick question. Obviously, you've spent a lot of your time on protecting these sensitive areas, and it sounds like the DNR has made that such a priority, which is fabulous. So having immersed yourself in that, you hear the discussions that are ongoing, about the impact of waves, and I assume you have to have some thoughts on that. Do you believe, from what you've seen in your interaction with all the experts at DNR, are these waves impacting on lakes like Lake Beulah, these sensitive areas? And then the second part of my question is, do you anticipate, and I know this isn't your issue, it sounds like higher discussions, but why aren't we hearing anything from an official position, from experts, which you guys have tons of at your disposal, because all these communities are replaying this all over the state, and it's emotional, and it's creating, unfortunately, I don't wanna say arguments, but different beliefs in communities. It seems like the DNR could help on what sounds like an important process or potential impact by just getting out there. So I'm curious on your personal thoughts, and then if you can give us any insight on will that happen?
Wow, what good questions. I think, I'll be candid with the group, right? I think that the wakeboat topic is a tricky one because, and in any kind of lake setting, right, we're gonna have different users that are coming in. People who wanna fish, kayak, use motorboats, swim, you name it, right? And so we do, as the department, as myself personally, right, I do encounter sometimes clashes between different user groups, right? And it's an odd spot to be in, because on one hand, we're quite clearly charged by law with protecting the resource, right, and preserving those things, including critical habitats, in perpetuity, right, for everybody. You know, that is a charge that we have, but we also do want people to enjoy the resource, right? So it's a balance. It's a tricky balance, right? But we do try to balance that out as best as we can. Yeah, I'm not privy to any of the discussions that are happening above my head, unfortunately, right, on, you know, the wakeboat topic or anything like that. What I can say is, I mean, we're committed to our mission, right, of like doing our best to make sure that we are protecting water quality, habitat, water quantity, flood storage capacity, you know, anything that protects erosion, you know, all that stuff that we talked about. Yeah, it's a tricky one. How's that for a government answer?
I'm not gonna ask you any more follow-ups, but I
It was a
understand.
little better than no answer.
Okay, good.
Is there a way you can
Yeah.
push your connections a little bit and kind of relay our concerns to somebody up above you, or say, hey, you know, this is a major concern that's going on, not only in Lake Beulah, but statewide.
Mhm.
You know, there is that concern from the public that would like to hear or have that from people up above.
And even if it's not like you guys are gonna regulate it, which I know
Yeah.
has been discussed or whatever, but
Yeah.
just a technical answer of, we believe that this process is damaging, it just gives information to the communities that are then forced to grapple with this if DNR doesn't address it.
And I will add this as a follow-up. I do think that sometimes, things happen, right? And we have to catch up in terms of what the law states, right? Maybe that's what's happening here, unfortunately, right? Is that, you know, if there's impacts that are occurring, you know, we haven't quite caught up to it yet. And we maybe need to, right? I use the word maybe, right?
Gotta be careful.
Gotta be careful, yeah, exactly, yes.
So, yeah, this might go to the fishermen and so forth, through Lake Link, for example, but I'm thinking of an app for Lake Beulah, where when you come on the lake, there's the, either, you know, you get the Lake Beulah app, okay, on your phone, and then with geolocation, it shows you where you are on the lake, and it'll notify you when you're in a sensitive area. So I don't know, Lake Link, what it does, but I think it might notify you where you are in a lake, does it?
Have some of those maps that you can pull up.
Well, Navionics, I think, do that.
Yeah, Lake Master, I
Well,
mean,
Okay, so there must be some, yeah, there's
All-
something
all-
already.
most fishermen rely on their fish locators, they have GPS component, so they have depth.
Yeah.
You know, depth sounding and then GPS.
Yeah.
But Hummingbird, Garmin, Lawrence, they all have their own mapping, and I think that might be something to approach them and say, they could build it right into their map database.
Yeah, right.
So,
So-
because,
so your phone, 'cause everybody's
Literally,
walking
as
around
a
with phone.
fisherman, we rely on that 98%.
Right, and you need shallow water and sensitive areas, because I think a lot of our sensitive areas are being protected because they're tucked away, but the shallow spots are the issues right now.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Do I have time for one more?
Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry, I ignored you for a second, I apologize, yes. You, yep.
This is sort of a general question, and it kind of applies to all three speakers, I think. I don't know which is best, but I am concerned about advertisements that I'm getting in the mail and on social media about make your swimming area beautiful, use these chemicals, get this propeller thing, you know, fix your area. And I know enough not to do that, but they don't seem to be regulated. I'm worried about new owners on the lake thinking, oh yeah, this would be great, I'll just clear out my whole area, and what can we do about that? And you said that you people need permits, but it doesn't say on there you need a permit, and so I don't even think, I think they just do it. But they're dumping chemicals and everything else into the lake, or they could be.
Could be, yep, absolutely. No, I agree with you. And I think that I'll add on, you know, in some lakes we see that with aerators, right, or with things that kind of jet, you know,
Yes.
sediment or
Yes.
plant material, right? I think that we educate, right? And it's tough. I don't know. Sometimes I've done, you know, articles in people's newsletters if they'll let me, right, or any kind of posting like that I can write up and try to broadcast that out about, hey, if you're thinking about any of these activities, right, please note that you need a permit from me first. Here's my contact information. I kind of hand out my contact information like Halloween day. You know, and Heidi has the other piece of that, right? If people are looking to get rid of any plant material, right, they should be talking to her first. Unfortunately, it does result sometimes in enforcement, right, from the department. If people are doing things that are regulated, right, but they did not get a permit first, you know, it kicks it into an enforcement action for us. Sometimes we can restore, but to Tom's point, sometimes we can't, right? And all we can do at that point is educate. Maybe we issue a citation as a deterrence, right, from doing that again. Yeah, but sometimes we can't restore. So,
Is there any literature out there that is available that we've talked in the past about giving new homeowners sort of a welcome to lake life? But I mean, I was just getting inundated this year, and I've heard people say, well, I'm just gonna do it, and if I get fined, I'll just pay the fine. So I'm very concerned that it's really ramped up this year, more so than in past years.
sure, yeah. Maybe we can talk more about, you know, what any outreach opportunities might look like.
One more
No,
quick
there's more, yeah, I'm sorry.
You mentioned the public water trust doctrine, and it's rather short, it's a paragraph or two, and it covers all the stuff with the lakes. Is there any talk at the DNR level about a cutout or something that will address these wake enhanced boats? Because the bottom line is, if you don't have 25 or 30 feet of water, the boat shouldn't be there. But the public water trust doctrine affords everybody, all boats, shapes, sizes, the right to use the lake. Is there anything in the works talking at the state level, a legislative letter, anywhere up there where they're gonna do this? Because this is creating a mishmash across the whole state of the municipalities having to take care of this.
Great question. And I think I would offer one little clarification, right? So the public trust doctrine is, it's more than a paragraph. It's like a whole body of case law and, you know, other things that have been built up over decades of work, right? And so I would say that, you know, yeah, it does protect, right? We at DNR, like, we support people boating. We want people to be recreating responsibly. You know, and so it is, yeah, like I said before, it's a tricky balance, right? I don't know anything about like I said, the conversations that are happening above my head, and when, right, DNR comes out with something, yeah, I wouldn't be able to.
Well, you don't want them to come out with something after all the lakes are destroyed, because what's the point of coming out with something?
Okay, John's got one quick thing.
Aaron, what is your personal opinion, from your knowledge base on wakeboarding, the effect on the lake? Crystal? You've seen the
You're
evidence.
putting me in a rough spot here, John. I got my official DNR PowerPoint on, and I got my blazer on for you today. I don't think I can give you my
But,
personal opinion.
You know, you
Come
see.
talk to me in the hallway. I'll give you my personal opinion.
I think that tells a lot right there. But it's sad that why can you not state your personal opinion?
I don't-
while you're in your job?
I wouldn't say that I can't. I'd say I'm not comfortable.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break while John Richter sets up his presentation. Come on back, or we're gonna talk about what's happening to our vegetation in our lakes and what we can do about
And I'll
it.
just plug, I know there were a ton of questions that we didn't get to. Here's my contact information. Business cards are
Yeah,
somewhere.
there's cards on the back.
You guys
by
are
the
all very
table.
welcome to reach out to me, please.
Thank you.
Good job, Mary.